Well, the only way to learn the Alliance's secret is to get to Miranda, so Mal starts giving orders. Put corpses on the hull, mount the anti-aircraft cannon on her, put in some tears in the hull that won't compromise the ship, add bits and bobs and all that. In other words, reaver the hell out of this, Firefly. There's some objection, but Mal seems rather insistent. It's not pretty, either Serenity or the Reaver area that they pass through, but they make it without a fuss and find that Miranda is just fine. There's no sign of an apocalypse at all. And this isn't just some little settlement. There are cities all over the place, nice ones like in the core worlds. Yet the people are all dead, like in River's dreams. But the more they see, the more this looks like it wasn't an attack. There's people who just laid down on the floor and died. I mean, like you would lie down if you were dead tired and didn't have a place to sleep. After River freaks a bit, they head onward. The only thing they have to focus on is a beacon that drew them to this particular city, a research and rescue craft. River activates a holographic recording of the findings of this team, saying that the Pax that was added to the atmosphere to ensure that the population would remain docile killed them all. They just gave up on everything. Any kind of work at all, like eating, going to the bathroom, anything strenuous like that, they said they're not going to have anything more to do with, just laid down until they died. There was an exception, though. 0.1% of the population had the opposite effect. They became hyper-aggressive lunatics. That's right, the Reavers. 30,000 of them, unleashed without warning. I can't believe my tax dollars pay for shit like this. So, this is the secret the Alliance was keeping that was worth all of those deaths. The knowledge that they tried to control their own people with chemicals, the fact they wiped out 30 million people, the fact that the Reavers are indeed real, and that the government is responsible for their creation. And Mal feels they'll eventually try it again. And I believe it. Wow, we better not make that mistake again by doing it wrong. So the idea is to get the word out, and that means Mr. Universe. He can send this to 30 worlds, no way to suppress it after that. Except Zoe predicts that the operative would know about Mr. Universe, and will show up with a fleet of ships to stop them. She's right, as the operative kills Mr. Universe the second that he's done luring Serenity towards his planet. But Mal has a plan. Admittedly, one could call this plan rather reckless, but the principle of the idea still works. If we need to face off against the Alliance, the Reavers are the perfect thing to bring to the party. The irresistible force meets the immovable object. Perfect order meets perfect chaos. Tastes great meets less filling. And Wash's moment comes.
I'm a leaf on the wind. Watch how I soar.
There is not one word in that sentence that is badass, and yet it is made out of badass.
Hearts of fire, streets of stone, modern warriors, satellite horses of chrome, ride the wind, never coming back until I touch the midnight sun. Ride the wind, never coming back until I touch the midnight sun.
As the Reavers and Alliance fight, the flagship gets rammed, and the operative needs to take an escape pod down to the planet to survive. Meanwhile, Serenity is not getting through this unscathed, and soon is out of control, forcing everyone to prep for a crash landing. As those kinds of things go, it's relatively mild. Wash is able to get enough control to at least skid into their destination. The difference between being on the wind and on the windshield. All thanks go to Wash, a lovable character played by the talented Alan Tudyk, a highly prolific actor, with roles ranging from a Star Wars droid in Rogue One to a live-action version of Batman's cousin and everything in between, plus his brand new series Resident Alien. Alas, he was unable in writing to commit to a sequel. So they're forced to leave Wash's body behind right now when they head deeper into the complex and set up where they're going to make their stand. This time the grenades get to come along. They'll hold the line here while Mal goes to make the broadcast. Then he can come and join them. Why miss out on all the fun?
Can't be thinking on revenge if we're gonna get through this.
Do you really think any of us are gonna get through this?
Well, I might.
Mal sees that the gear is all wrecked, but follows the blood trail that Mr. Universe left as he crawled over to his robot wife. Before he died, he programmed her to repeat a message for Mal, where the backup complex is located at. It's not easy to get to, but nothing's ever easy when you're in the final act. Meanwhile, as Kaylee and Simon are facing the end, he admits to her that he's been so concerned about River this whole time, he would never let himself think about, well, himself, and what it was that he wanted, like being with Kaylee.
Hell with this. I'm gonna live.
Nothing motivates like the promise of Nookie. But nothing drives you crazy like Nookie denied, because when the Reavers breach, Zoe forgets that whole planning thing and begins engaging them solo, which also happens to block other people's chance to shoot at the raging monsters, until finally she gets a stabbing. Meanwhile, the operative has heard the same message from the sex bot and intercepts Mal as he's trying to get to the backup. When the operative comments on innocent people dying in the sky overhead, Mal agrees, but is referring to the Reavers. They may be crazed cannibalistic monsters, but the difference between them and the Alliance is that they never chose to be what they are. They were made into it. I mean, it's still fine to shoot them. They are monsters, just, making a point here. But everybody needs to know that fact.
Do you really believe that?
I do.
You willing to die for that belief?
I am.
The theme of Serenity is that Mal is not still fighting the Battle of Serenity Valley, but rather that he is reclaiming the man who had fought at Serenity Valley. Reclaiming in the sense that he is prepared to admit that to himself. And one of the key motifs for that in this film, of getting him to remember why he fought, why he put his life on the line, why defeat was so bitter, was because he believed in something. The operative may believe in a world without sin, but Mal believes in a world where sinners can find redemption.
Give me something to believe in. Give me something to believe in. Give me something that says it's over. Give me something to believe in. 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 And give me something to believe in.
What can I tell you? It's a poison kind of day. Anyway, as you saw, things are not looking good, but then again, they never do they? They've had to withdraw downstairs into that hallway, and the door won't close all the way. Plus, Kaylee has been compromised by a wound, and Simon has just been gut shot. Seeing that seems to have finally snapped River out of it, realizing the situation. Simon's medical bag is out there, and they need it in here, but there's Reavers coming through. Oh, and also, the controls that could seal this door up properly, they're out there also. But anyone who stays out there, well, probably doesn't have long to live. But then again, most of us are not anime characters. River proceeds to open cans of whoop-ass like they were past their expiration date. While upstairs, Mal has managed to survive being stabbed by the sword. It looks like it might have missed the vital organs there. But the operative gets in one of those nerve cluster punches.
You've already lost.
Fooled you! Yeah, it turns out that the nerve cluster got moved on account of some shrapnel that Mal had taken during the war. How's that for a metaphor for you? Mal's war scars are what just saved his life. He manages to disable the operative, but rather than killing him, puts him where he can see what happened on Miranda along with everyone else, to see a world without sin. Hey, I've got a seat in the front row! River has defeated the Reavers, but that's when the surviving Alliance troops show up, and things can get Alamo on them real quick. Fortunately, the operative has been persuaded by what he sees and has them stand down, and even gets Serenity repaired. As for Kaylee and Simon, just hope she doesn't start offering tips to them that she'd read somewhere. On a similar topic, Inara and Mal have a conversation, and they don't fight. She says she doesn't know if she's ready to go back yet, which is an answer that Mal likes. As for Zoe, she talks about how the ship is still not whole, but is ready to go anyway, a clear indication for both of them how she's doing after Washer's funeral. And finally, River joins Mal in the cockpit to help him fly, where he says the secret to making this ship go is love, because that's what makes it a home, even if a piece falls off every once in a while.
What was that?
Serenity gives Firefly a lot of closure. Not all, and that's okay. Some you can guess at, like Shepard Book's past was of someone high up in the Alliance. My best guess would be an operative. He knows a lot about operatives, after all. He knows how their belief is a cornerstone of themselves. And if he had no name, choosing Book for himself would be fully in keeping with his character. And as for Inara and Mal, we can decide for ourselves how that worked out. That's fine. If you were closing the book on Firefly, this did it. Though the death of Wash felt mean-spirited at the time, and only feels worse now to find out it was for a stupid reason. But given all of the shows that I've seen that never had closure, Firefly should count itself lucky it got to go out on a high note like this.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
The hell? It's okay. I believe I'm gonna win. What does that mean?